Welcome back. You're watching the Fox Business Network. We're coming into the bottom of the hour. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Greg Steube from House Judiciary. Congressman, it's so good to have you back on.
Good to see you.
Kash Patel, it's good to see you. Kash Patel is a key House investigator. He worked underneath Devin Nunes on House Intelligence. He is now saying that there is, quote, more damning evidence of FBI misconduct in the Trump-Russia probe, but that information is still being kept under wraps and classified. What do you think this has to do with?
Well, thankfully, Trump, before he left office, declassified some of those documents, which we have. But I can guarantee you there is a treasure trove full of documents that are at the FBI and DOJ, and we may never know, Americans may never know what really happened in Crossfire Hurricane, what really happened when the FBI, as we know now, was surveilling on the Trump campaign. We may never know. And so until we are certainly not going to know under a Biden administration, they're not going to let that information go. So it's very troubling to me as a member of Congress on the Judiciary Committee that there's things that happen at the FBI and there is bad malfeasance going on by FBI members, and we may not ever get to the bottom of things that occurred that directly go against the American people.
Well, for people who believe in open government and transparency, what you just said, they would find that deeply concerning and upsetting, because Kash Patel said that House intelligence under Devin Nunes was continuously blocked by the intelligence community, claiming you're going to hurt our sources and our methods. Patel is saying we didn't lose a single source. We didn't lose a single source relationship. It only showed their cover-up and embarrassment. So this is a guy who helped unearth and uncover the anti-Trump Steele opposition research, the dossier used by the FBI to get FISA wiretaps, and also, you know, other things like the FBI misconduct with Andrew McCabe lying about his leaks to the media. Kash Patel is no joke. He's pretty serious stuff.
Well, and Devin himself won the Medal of Freedom from President Trump because of all of this. If it wasn't for Congressman Nunes and his work in the Intelligence Committee, we wouldn't know half of what we know today, which I think is just probably the tip of the iceberg of the real deep information. And how deep does the injustice at the Department of Justice go with some of the things that occurred at the FBI? I mean, we know now that the mainstream media fed Americans a lie with the Russia collusion hoax, and that they were overtly attempting to surveil members of the Trump campaign to try to dig up some type of dirt that they could use against the campaign, which we all know all was precipitated by this dossier, which was 100% completely false. And so how much more information is out there? I can tell you this: once Republicans take control of the House in 2022, I can guarantee you we're going to be working very hard with Devin Nunes back in as the chairman of the Intelligence Committee to get to the bottom of some of this information. But until then, we may never know.
Well, it's about getting the information declassified. Patel says he's read the underlying intelligence that the FBI used and says there were major holes in what they were doing. He's also written himself a report about it that is yet to be declassified. So he's probably the guy to watch. You mentioned Devin Nunes. Devin Nunes spoke with our very own Maria Bartiromo about what he has found in recently declassified government documents, Congressman, about how the FBI basically made stuff up based on an informant's wrong information about General Michael Flynn. Let's listen to this.
When you go through that, it's frightening. Imagine being spied upon by your own government, and then that spy makes up a bunch of lies about everybody. I mean, they framed General Flynn. This is evidence that should have been brought when I was chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. It should have been brought nearly 4 years ago. We should have seen what they were doing and how they were running these spies in the campaign.
So, Congressman, what this is in reference to is Cambridge University professor Stefan Halper, a paid FBI informant, alleged that General Michael Flynn had an encounter with a Russian-British grad student. That grad student said that is false. William Barnett, an FBI agent, said that is wrong, but somehow that information was used to go after General Flynn. Your reaction?
It was used to go after General Flynn, and now 4 years later, this graduate student is finally finding out who that source was that was spewing these lies to the FBI. So now she knows who it was that was sourcing this information to the FBI, which was a complete and utter lie. And Devin Nunes is right. You have some of the most decorated general in the history of our military being surveilled on by the FBI under false pretenses. That should make every American very concerned about the safety and security of our country when we have the FBI and DOJ weaponized to go after conservatives, to go after political targets. It's very unnerving as a member of Congress, and I think all Americans should be very concerned about it.
At the center of this is the abuse of the court, the FISA court that's meant to catch terrorists. The FBI has been found to have abused that court. Potential perjury charge coming from John Durham in his criminal probe. The DOJ does have a page dedicated to the John Durham probe of the FBI Trump-Russia abuses. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I hope that the Biden administration, his new AG, isn't going to tamp down all the things that John Durham is doing. We've been telling, members of Congress have been told for over a year now, the John Durham investigation is coming, it's coming, it's coming, and yet it still hasn't come. When is there going to be justice for all of the things that occurred at the DOJ? When is he going to complete his investigation? So I'm very concerned that now that Biden is in the White House and his people are in charge of the DOJ and the FBI, that we're never going to get to the bottom of this. John Durham's not going to be able to complete his investigation. I hope that's not the case, but his investigation should be complete, and we as members of Congress and the American people should find out what occurred.
I'll tell you something. As the years go by, people start to talk in Washington, so that's something to look forward to. Congressman Greg Steube, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.